Hello again. Now we're going to look at some examples of quadratic equations. So here's example 1. And then also look at the graph and determine these key features. So each of these words down here on the right side talk about a key feature of the graph. So the vertex of the graph, the vertex is the point where the graph turns around. So for this particular graph, y equals x squared plus 6x plus 8, the vertex is the point -3, -1. So we always say the vertex as a point, and in every point, remember that the x value comes first and then the y value. So this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis, and -3 and -1 is how I get to this point right here, which is the vertex. Now, the vertex is at the bottom of the graph, and so it is called the minimum. It is at the bottom of the graph. It's down here, and so it's the minimum. The axis of symmetry is always a vertical line that divides the parabola right down the middle. And so this vertical line is the line x equals -3. The roots of a parabola are also the same as the x-intercepts. And the x-intercepts, there's one right here and one right here. So the x-intercepts or the roots are the points, -4 for x, 0 for y, and -2 for x, 0 for y. This parabola is concave up because it is opening up. And parabolas extend forever on both the left and the right side. So the domain is from -infinity to infinity. But the range for this parabola, the lowest point is when y is -1, and then it goes up from there. So the lowest point for y is -1, and then it goes to infinity. And that is example 1. We'll scroll up and take a look at example 2, which you also have in your notes in OneNote. So example 2 is a different parabola. It's also written in a different form. The next video is going to talk about the different ways you can write quadratic equations, and this is a different way that you can write it. And so this parabola has a vertex up at the top. It's right here. And that point is where x is equal to 3 and y is equal to 0. This time, the vertex is a maximum point because it's at the top. It's going, the parabola is facing down. And so the vertex is at the top of the parabola. So when that happens, we call it a maximum point. The axis of symmetry goes right through the vertex. It's this vertical line where x is equal to 3. This parabola is kind of interesting because it only has one root. It only, remember, roots are also x-intercepts, and it only touches the x-axis right there at the vertex. So the vertex is also the only root. That's where x is 3 and y is 0. This parabola is concave down because that's where the arrows are pointing that way. And a lot of times the graphs don't show the arrows, but just remember that they are there. Parabolas, quadratic equations always have a domain of negative infinity to infinity. Now, for the range, the very bottom of the graph is pointing to negative infinity, and then this is the top. So the lowest value is negative infinity, and the largest value for y is 0. And those are the key features of these quadratics.